I'd like to call to order the City of Springdale regular council meeting for November 6, 2024. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Sprout, if you could take roll.
Mr. Gleaves.
Present.
Mr. Jacobs.
Present.
Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mrs. Seldon-Weiskopf.
Present.
Mr. Vanover.
Present.
Mrs. Webster. Present. Mr. Anderson.
Present. Council, in your package, you received the minutes from the October 16, 2024 meeting. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any changes or corrections or? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved with 7 affirmative votes. And just for the benefit of anyone that's watching, if you're looking at the agenda or following along online, I think the agenda that was published had one error, a scrivener's error in the agenda. It showed that there was an executive session planned for tonight after item 13. That's not on the agenda for tonight. It's not in our official agenda, but it might have been published in error, so don't expect to see that later. All right, next up is communications. Ms. Browder, are there any communications for council this evening?
Yes, we do have 2 liquor permits. These are new permits. One is for Wawa, and I think we all know where that's going. The other is for the Family Dollar Store located at 409 West Kemper Road. For Wawa, it'll be carry-out only. It's a C2 permit. And then for Family Dollar, it's carry-out only for beer sales, both of those till 1 a.m.
All right, any questions or concerns about those? Not seeing any. We can go ahead and file those. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience that would like to address council for any reason. You simply come forward to the dais, state your name and address, sign in, and you can address council on any matter for up to 5 minutes. At this point, the communications from the audience is open. Second call. Third and final call. All right, I'm closing communications from the audience. Moving right along, next we have ordinances and resolutions. First up is ordinance number 56, 2024. This is a second reading and can be acted on tonight. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 56, 2024, an ordinance accepting a proposal under the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program and authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement with Horton Emergency Vehicles in the amount of $362,830 for the purchase of a new ambulance. Whereas the state of Ohio has advertised and received bids for the purchase of ambulances through a cooperative purchasing program, and whereas the city wishes to purchase a new ambulance for the use by the fire department, and whereas Horton Emergency Vehicles was the lowest and best bidder for the purchase of a new ambulance with a total bid of $362,830. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring, Section 1, that the city of Springdale accepts the state's specifications for a new ambulance and agrees that Horton Emergency Vehicles is the lowest and best bidder for the purchase of a new ambulance for the city in the amount of $362,830. Section 2, that the mayor and city administrator are hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with Horton Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of a new ambulance in the amount of $362,830. Section 3, that the finance officer tax commissioner is hereby authorized to pay Horton Emergency Vehicles the sum of $362,830 for the purchase of a new ambulance. Section 4, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which result in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of ordinance number 56, 2024. It can be acted on. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
I moved and seconded. I have Ms. McFarland for the second.
Yep.
It might just be because she's closer to my ear.
It's good. We're good.
All right. Questions or discussion? Mr. Vanover.
Just a reminder, this was, we brought up at the first reading, Finance Committee approved and wholeheartedly supports this purchase. And for the public, we're essentially getting ahead of the curve because it's at least a 2-year wait.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you poll council.
Mr. Vanover.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves.
Aye.
Ms. Seldon-Weiskopf.
Aye.
Mrs. Webster?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Ordinance number 56, 2024 passes with 7 affirmative votes. All right, next we'll move on to ordinance number 57, 2024. This is a first reading. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 57, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement with TEC Engineering Incorporated for completion of Safe Streets for All study for the city of Springdale, Ohio. Whereas the city of Springdale, Ohio, the city, has been awarded funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration through the fiscal year 2023 Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program for the development of a safety action plan. And whereas the city needs to retain certain professional services in order to complete the safety action plan. And whereas the city seeks to enter into an agreement with TEC Engineering Incorporated for performance of that work. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1. The mayor and city administrator are hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with TEC Engineering Incorporated for completion of a Safe Streets for All study for the city of Springdale, the proposal. A copy of the proposal is attached as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, that the finance officer, tax commissioner is hereby authorized to pay TEC Engineering Incorporated an amount not to exceed $123,310 for completion of the Safe Streets for All study as outlined in the proposal. Section 3, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance 57, 2024. Are there any questions or discussion for tonight? Ms. McFarland.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is new to me, and I know the Safe Streets kind of explains it all. Is this for us to take action on unsafe areas they find, or is this just what exactly are we looking to gain?
Mr. Riggs.
Yeah, thank you. It's for a study to better define some of the accident-prone areas in the city and develop an action plan. So basically develop a plan or a strategy to reduce or eliminate fatalities within the city. So a part of this action plan, or a part of this grant, or the planning and demonstration grant, is required before you have to have a safety action plan in place before you can get additional federal dollars. So this is the first step in actually getting implementation funds to address some of those high collision intersections or corridors.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, we will see this again at our next meeting. All right, next up we have ordinance number 58, 2024. This is again a first reading. Mr. Jacobs.
Ordinance number 58, 2024, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Tri-County Mall planned unit development and approving the preliminary development plan for the property located at 11700 Princeton Pike. Whereas the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio Council has previously approved the Tri-County Mall planned unit development, PUD, and whereas the applicant has submitted an application for a major modification to the Tri-County Mall PUD and preliminary development plan at 11700 Princeton Pike to allow it to demolish a majority of the existing mall with the exception of 2 parking garage structures and 2 existing outlots. And whereas at its meeting of October 8, 2024, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed major modification. And whereas a public hearing was held by council on November 20th, 2024 pursuant to the requirements of the zoning code. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, the major modification of the Tri-County Mall PUD and preliminary development plan, which has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission in accordance with the exhibits listed and described in the attached Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein by reference, is hereby approved subject to the conditions of the Planning Commission, including A, staff, city engineer, and city planners' recommendations and considerations contained in their reports. As a PUD, this shall include staff, law director, and city's approvals of the covenants as necessary. B, final development plan, which shall be reviewed at a later date. Section 2, that this council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, that the clerk of council is hereby authorized and directed to notify the applicant of council's action. Section 4, that this ordinance shall be effective from and after the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the first reading of Ordinance 58, 2024. Are there questions or discussions for this evening? Ms. Sullivan-Wisecup.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to remind you all that this is what I had spoken to you about at the last meeting about Tri-County Mall, and this did pass unanimously at Planning Commission, and we do ask for your approval at our next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Yule.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just some information, the developer will be on site for our November 20th meeting, and we'll also have a presentation available as well.
And is there a public hearing attached to that for the next meeting?
Correct.
Good. Just want to make sure we're tracking that. Mr. Gleaves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Uhl, do you know this will be a question and answer for the community at this meeting, 11:20?
There'll be a public hearing where members of the community can weigh in on the project to council. I don't anticipate this being a question and answer back and forth with the developer.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other questions or discussion for this evening? All right. All right. We will see this again next time with the public hearing. All right. Next up, we have old business. Is there any old business that council would like to bring forward? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to new business. There was one item that was sent out ahead of time for new business, just for people's awareness. Every year, the OKI representative from the city of Springdale has to be reappointed. In past years, we've done this as a voice vote with a nomination, just like other things. It just has to be submitted before our December 1st meeting, our first meeting in December, which is why we're taking it up tonight. So we need to pick our representative for OKI for 2025. I have been the representative. I'm happy to continue doing it, but I'm also willing and happy if anybody else would like to take a turn. It's certainly available. So with that in mind, for OKI appointment, at this point, I'm opening the floors for nominations for our OKI representative. Are these lights for this, Tom? Is that light for this?
Different issue.
Is this for this, Ms. Webster?
I have a question.
About OKI?
No,
Then hang on. So right now, we're just doing the OKI item.
I'm okay with you on OKI.
Okay. Mr. Jacobs.
I'd like to nominate Jeff Anderson to be the 2025 OKI representative for the city of Springdale.
Second.
All right. Are there any other nominations? All right. I'm closing the nominations for OKI representative. At this point, the chair is seeking a motion to nominate or appoint myself, Jeffrey Anderson, as the OKI representative for 2025. And all I would need is a so moved at this point.
So moved.
All right. So we can do this by voice vote. All those in favor of appointing me as OKI representative for next year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I am once again your representative for OKI for next year with 7 affirmative votes. Thank you. I do weirdly enjoy infrastructure, so thank you. All right, back to other new business. Mr. Vandover.
Thank you, Mr. President. On October 31st, the Finance Committee met, and I'm going to report this because we're going to ask for legislation at the next meeting. The Police Department is requesting 5 vehicles be declared surplus property, 3 marked cars and 2 unmarked cars. The trade-in value of all 5 at 2 different dealerships, and to apply the trade-in value towards the purchase of 4 new unmarked cars to right-size their fleet. Legislation declaring these items a surplus is requested, and legislation forthcoming for the purchase of new vehicles from one vendor also anticipated.
All right. All right, thank you.
You
Ms.
have
Webster?
anything, Ms. Webster?
Please?
You want to add anything?
No, it's good. Good.
All right. Ms. Webster.
As a member of Finance Committee, I would like to make a request to receive a copy of the solicitor's bills and also the engineers.
That's fine. You don't need to do that inside of council. You can just request it from administration.
Please?
You can just request those from administration anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Administration, do you need a separate email from that, or are you okay? All right. All right, Mr. Gleaves? No, you're good. All right. Any other new business? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to meetings and announcements. Ms. Sullivan-Weisskopf.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Commission will meet in these chambers next Tuesday, November 12th at 7 p.m.
Mayor Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few things. Ada Perkins recently passed away. That's as those that went to Springdale Elementary School, Mr. Perkins, former principal's daughter. There'll be a memorial or a celebration of life for her on November 13th at 10:30 at the Rec Center. Also, SYB's father-daughter dance is November the 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. Veterans Day ceremony at Veterans Memorial will be November the 11th at 1 p.m. We'll have the tree lighting on December the 2nd at 7 p.m. here in the Municipal Building, and the Santa 5K will be at 9 a.m. What's the date on that? December the 2nd?
7th.
December the 7th, and then the Vendors Village will be open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then lastly, want to recognize and celebrate our girls' wings team and our boys' strikers that are going to be competing for a state championship this weekend, and we're going to see if we can get them in for our November meeting or possibly the December meeting. So congratulations to them in advance. Thank you.
All right. Any other meetings or announcements? Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, President Anderson. The Civil Service Commission will meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. adjacent to these chambers.
Still in meetings and announcements. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to communications from the audience. This is the second opportunity for anyone in the audience that would like to address council for any reason. Simply come forward to the dais, state your name and address, and sign in, and you can address council for up to 5 minutes. The floor is now open. Second call. Third and final call. All right, I'm closing communications from the audience. Next, we'll move to recap of legislative items and legislation still in development. Mr. Jacobs?
Thank you, Mr. President. As you review your legislative summary, item 2 was addressed by Ordinance 56, 2024, an ordinance accepting a proposal under the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program and authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement with Horton Emergency Vehicles in the amount of $362,830 for the purchase of a new ambulance. That received a second reading and passed with 7 affirmative votes. Item 2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement with TEC Engineering Incorporated for completion of a Safe Streets for All study for the city of Springdale, Ohio, received a first reading, and that is Ordinance 57, 2024. Item 4, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Tri-County Mall planned unit development and approving the preliminary development plan for the property located at 11700 Princeton Pike, was addressed by Ordinance 58, 2024, and received a first reading. Item still in development is item 1, an ordinance amending section 153252 F6C of the Springdale Code of Ordinances, regulating the husbandry of fowl, rabbits, and bees. That is forthcoming. And finally, item 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement for design engineering for the East Kemper Road Improvements Phase 1 project for the city of Springdale, Ohio, is forthcoming on November the 20th.
And then there's also the request from the Finance Committee for legislation related to the purchases, and we also have the public hearing notice related to the PUD change. Is there anything else related to legislation that we missed? All right, not seeing any. Thank you. All we have left before us tonight is item 14.
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.